from ancient cement to the first antidepressant and all the crazy inventions in between. Some things just ain't what they used to be. Welcome back, Bumblebees. Let's dive right into the top 10 ancient technologies that are lost in history. Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot we have Greek fire. Greek fire is essentially the primitive form of napalm, and it was first created in Greece, you guessed it. It was used often and efficiently for naval battles during the Byzantine Empire. It was used and worked well for these battles because it was able to not only float on top of the water, but it also was difficult to put out the fire using water. The secrets regarding this substance were guarded so greatly because it was such a powerful weapon at the time. The information on what it was made out of, how it was stored, or how it functioned remain a mystery to this day. The formula to recreate it has been tried many times, but it is currently thought that the particular storage and some sort of pressurized delivery system are what played such a huge role in its functionality and ignition, and we have yet to figure out those secrets. In our number 9 spot today we have Roman cement. Concrete is the most commonly used building material in the world, but our current cement, water, sand, rocks mixture is nothing compared to the original stuff. While our modern concrete was created in the 1700s, there was obviously stuff that was being used before. In fact, concrete was used quite a bit during antiquity by Egyptians, Assyrians, and Romans. The Romans seemingly used to generate the most, and they are the ones who really perfected the recipe that we just can't seem to replicate now. Apparently, the ancient mixture involved burnt limestone as well as crushed rocks and water, but whatever the heck it was, their structures were a lot more withstanding than ours are now, which has led people to question, how do we get that level of hardiness back in our modern day concrete? In our number 8 spot today we have the Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism is an extremely mysterious discovery that has stumped researchers ever since it was found. This artifact was found 150 feet below the surface of the Aegean Sea in a shipwreck, and it is the oldest kind of computer ever recorded, as it was dated back to the 7th century BC. The author David Childress likened the finding to if they found a jet plane in King Tut's tomb. That's how bizarre this discovery really was. Due to the complexity and oddity of the finding, alien enthusiasts have believed for quite some time that it may have been technology that was passed down from some sort of superior being. This analog computer may have had a ton of uses, and researchers aren't 100% sure about all of the ways it was used, but it is known to have been some sort of astronomical calculator. It was able to predict eclipses and different planetary placements. The mechanism was able to calculate the position and running time of each planet. How would they have been able to create this without the use of sophisticated astronomical tools? We have been able to recreate this mechanism to see how it functions, but no one is able to tell how it could have possibly been created. In our number 7 spot today we have Mithridate. Mithridate was named after King Mithridate VI, who was the king of Pontus. It is said that he was so terribly afraid of being poisoned that he, over the course of 7 years, adapted his body to different poisons. It is also said that after mixing 54 ingredients together, he was able to create Mithridate, which is said to have been a universal antidote to all poisons. The exact formula has of course been lost to time, but historians have said that it was believed the antidote contained opium, chopped vipers, and small amounts of the poisons and their antidotes. The antidote was originally created around 100 BC, and it was actually used by many people for centuries, and even apparently as recently as the 19th century. It is unclear how the recipe entirely disappeared, but despite some best efforts, no one has really been able to recreate it since the last known use. In our number 6 spot today we have Damascus steel. It's possible that you may have heard of Damascus steel before, and that is because the name still exists, and it's used in reference to a variety of pattern welded forged steel products, but the modern day stuff just really isn't what it used to be. Historically, Damascus steel was discovered quite a long time ago, and it was used to make swords in the Middle East. It is said that these swords had the ability to cut through rocks or even completely cut through other swords, which is just absolutely insane. The exact process of how these swords were made has been lost to time, but it is rumored that Wootz steel was imported from Sri Lanka and used in the creation process along with other metals. Somehow the metals were basically weaved together rather than an alloy being created. This is what led to the steel not only being exceptionally strong, but also really flexible, and it is this process that modern day smiths can't seem to exactly replicate. The modern day Damascus products are definitely high quality gorgeous products, but it seems as though the secrets of the past may hold something even better. In our number 5 spot today, we have the telharmonium. The telharmonium is regarded as one of the world's first electronic instruments. This instrument was kind of like an organ, but it used wheels to create different synthetic tones. From here, the tones would be transmitted over telephone wires with the intention of getting the music broadcast so that people could listen in. Considering the fact that this instrument was created in 1897, that's a pretty cool invention for the time, so the fact that it once existed really is super cool. Unfortunately, however, the idea was taking too much energy from the grid, which led to it being just totally scrapped. Instead of finding out another way to use this instrument or just waiting for technology to advance to a point where this would be able to be used, they just destroyed it. Now, in 2020, not only does the telharmonium not exist, but there aren't even any recordings of it, so it seems as though this might be one thing that's just lost forever. In our number 4 spot today, we have Ulfberht. This mysterious sword has been confusing ever since it was discovered by archaeologists. Experts were able to date this sword back to the Viking era sometime from 800 to 1000 AD, but no one could figure out how this sword was made, especially with what technologies were available at the time. It seemed as though this sword was made using techniques that didn't exist until 800 years later when the Industrial Revolution happened, so how could it have been made all of that time before? It is said that everything about this sword, from the composition of the metal to the extreme heat needed to forge the blade, it just couldn't have been done at the time, but clearly it was. So how? A blacksmith who tried to recreate the sword only using methods that would have been used at the time explained that he was unable to make it without resorting to more modern technology. In our number 3 spot today, we have Nepenthe. If you're a person who's ever had to be subjected to the process that is antidepressant medication, this one might just frustrate you a bit. The ancient Greeks and Romans discovered a lot of things, some of which we use now, and some that seem to have been lost but could have potentially proved to be exceptionally useful to us, and that is exactly what Nepenthe is. Ancient Greeks were known to treat the bereaved with this medicine that seems to have been some sort of a primitive antidepressant. It is said that Nepenthe was known for its ability to chase sorrow away and also to cause forgetfulness. There are many references to this medicinal plant, but at this point, we are completely unsure of which modern plant aligns with these ancient descriptions, or if the plant even exists at all anymore. In our number 2 spot today, we have Stradivari violins. If you're a string instrument enthusiast, then you definitely have heard of the Stradivari family and the instruments created by them. These instruments were created between 1650 and 1750, and they were highly sought after in their day, and even more so now. Apparently, these instruments feature an unparalleled sound quality that has been found to be impossible to recreate. The instruments that have survived through to the modern day are now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it is abundantly clear that these instruments are incredibly valuable. Here's the catch though, experts can't agree or figure out what exactly it is that makes them sound so wonderful. Some have speculated that the magnificent sound comes from a fungus that grew in the region, some think that it's the density of the wood, but regardless, no one really knows for sure. At the end of the day, the secrets of the family art were laid to rest with the Stradivari family. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Library of Alexandria. This isn't necessarily technology as we now think of the word, but this certainly was one of the greatest losses we've seen. This library is said to have held a collection of over 1 million scrolls, which are said to have been all the written works in the world at the time. The library was founded in 300 BC, and it was where the scholars of the time would come to study. When a person visited the library, they needed to give over any books that they had so that they could be copied and added to the collection of the library. It isn't exactly clear what it was that destroyed the library, but rumors range from Julius Caesar accidentally setting it on fire to an invasion that set it ablaze. At the end of the day, the building burned and everything in it was destroyed. What was in that building was absolutely priceless, and we can only guess at what kind of secrets it held. Unfortunately, many of what was in the library wasn't written anywhere else, so it's destined to stay a mystery. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozlowski, and I will see you again soon. Goodbye!